Hey guys, welcome back. So now the dust has finally settled on season 1, I think it's time to go over whether or not it was a success, and to be honest, it is a complicated one. Started within the fandom itself, on the whole, and what I feel mostly as well, is it has been an improvement on previous series with some really strong episodes like 73 Yards, The Devil's Cord, Rogue, even Legend of Ruby Thunder with such a phenomenal cliffhanger. But it did contain the odd weaker story, and really I think this has really affected the general viewing audience. With Ncuti's regeneration happening in early December and then him actually having his first full episode on Christmas Day, then with the 5-month gap for season 1, I do feel this has affected the general viewing audience because anyone who was interested to see his performance had already done so at Christmas, so there was no incentive to watch season 1 for those type of people. Now, I know originally they were meant to have done it apparently in January the season, which is what they wanted to do. And I feel like if they had done that, if they had the chance, it would have improved the viewing figures. Not massively, but it still would have been an improvement. The last time we had a Doctor have their first full episode on Christmas Day was David Tennant back in 2005 with the Christmas Invasion. But I think it's fair to say that TV popularity has decreased massively since then, so it's not really the thing to really do to watch the TV round with the family anymore. With all these streaming services, mobile phones, with tablets, there are just so many other ways people consume content now, so TV isn't as popular as it used to be. So I feel like having this Christmas episode with Ncuti Gatwa and then having his series 5 months later, I feel like did affect season 1's viewing figures, and I feel like maybe this is why Chris Chibnall never wanted to open his sort of era with a Christmas episode, because maybe he knew that the follow-on from the Christmas episode in Series 11 wouldn't have been huge, and this is why Stephen Moffat had to write Twice Upon a Time to keep Doctor Who's sort of festive special on TV. So I do feel like this was a mistake that they not necessarily could have done much about, but still I don't feel like it played in their favour. Whilst the viewing figures are not the be-all and end-all like some people would believe, I still do feel like they are an indication to certain things. Now, looking at the church on Ruby Road, it had 7.49 million, with the Space Babies only having just over 4 million. So it's quite a large drop, and I feel like with it being a weak opener, it didn't help the series as well. I feel like people probably did tune into it and then probably didn't bother afterwards, or people saw what the first episode was and just didn't bother, and to be honest, I can see why. Whilst I don't think it's too bad, I can see the faults with it, to be honest, and why it isn't the best episode to open the series with. Now, of course, as you know, we had the Space Babies and the Devil's Cord together, which was quite unusual, and it's rumoured that they did this because Disney and the BBC didn't have faith in the Space Babies, so wanted to put the 2 episodes together to not put viewers off. So I feel like that there is some truth behind that sort of rumour, and it does make sense because the Space Babies wasn't the best opener, and it is fairly weak, to be honest, considering what we've had in previous years. So while some of the stories were the best we've seen in years, the weak opener and the 5-month gap really did not play in the favour for the casual viewer, which is what I really feel the showrunners and streaming services were after, because I feel like it wasn't as successful as they wanted it to be with the casual viewing audience. Now, also looking at the finale, The Empire of Death, I felt it left a lot of people very flat, and I feel like it's not going to help with future series as well, or even the Christmas special, because people started the series feeling a bit down, and then you also have the last episode, which was sort of a letdown as well. So I feel like not only this affected this season, I feel like it could also affect future seasons as well. Looking at the promotion of the show, I wouldn't say it was at fault. I feel like they actually did fairly well with the promotion. I feel like we managed to reach a lot more people than we normally would, being partnered up with Disney and having Disney promote it. So I feel like the promotion was fairly good. It could have done with more, but to be honest, however much promotion they ever do, there's never enough promotion, so they could have always done more. There's always room for improvement, but the promotion on the whole was very successful, and I feel like this did actually help the series. Now, looking at the main cast, Ncuti and Millie have gone down very well. With Ncuti, like a lot of people tend to do before they've even seen him perform or any other Doctor perform, they believe he's going to be the next Tom Baker. I saw it said about him, I saw it said about the 14th Doctor, I saw it said about the 13th Doctor, the 12th Doctor, and so on. And whilst he has gone down very well, with some people now claiming he's his favourite, which is amazing, I wouldn't say that people see him as miles better than any other Doctor. So he's really great, but he's not out there as in absolutely amazing, best than any other we've had before. So he has gone down well, but not massively making a big difference. So he has gone down well, but not majorly. I feel like one problem that people say about Ncuti, which I do agree, not necessarily Ncuti, but more just the Doctor in general, is that there just seems to be too much crying and emotionless from the 15th Doctor, which isn't on Ncuti, it's more on the writing itself, which I do feel like has sort of dragged him down in rankings and how people feel about him, because there just does seem to be too much emotionalness, too much crying, which I felt hasn't helped the 15th Doctor and people sort of warming to him. So if it wasn't for that, I feel like he would have gone down a lot better. But in terms of shooting himself with the 15th Doctor, he has gone down very well. Ruby has gone down very well also. I feel like she isn't as great as the other companions we've had before, like someone like Sarah Jane, Rose or Donna, but she is one of the strongest companions we've had in years. So I feel like with the general sort of viewing of people, I feel like she is very good as a companion, but she's not up there with the greats. Now, I also don't feel like it's partly Ruby's fault. I feel like there are a lot of faults as well which haven't helped with this. I feel like talking about the Doctor and Ruby's relationship, I just don't believe that their friendship that is so hammered down about how close they are hasn't been expressed enough, with episodes like Dot and Bubble, 73 Yards and Rogue where they're not together really at all. So with just 8 episodes a series and quite a lot of them then being separated, I don't believe it sort of helped to sort of bond with them two together and believe in their friendship. Not only that, but there seems to be a mess in the timelines. In The Devil's Cord, she's travelled with him for 6 months, yet the episode later, boom, it was her first alien planet. It just doesn't seem to make sense. And then in 73 Yards, she said she hasn't travelled with the Doctor long, a few times in that episode. So the timelines do seem to be messed up. So these things don't help in their favour either for both the 15th Doctor and Ruby. Also, with what it seems that Ruby will be taking a back seat in the second season, with Belinda now being the main companion, I also feel like this is going to help the next season as well. And talking about helping the next season, looking at the monsters, I don't feel like we had very strong monsters for this season, except maybe Maestro. They were very forgetful and just sort of like fitting for just one episode only. So whilst I feel it didn't affect the stories and the season in general a large part, I do feel like if we don't get some new iconic villains soon, then it's going to affect the future season really. So whilst it doesn't affect this season and whether it was a success or not, I do feel like if they don't sort of change these things soon, then it's going to affect the future. Looking at whether the BBC and Disney believe it was successful or not, ignoring all the rumours, it would seem that they are fairly happy with its success. Now, Disney, of course, have now invested in the spin-off The War Between the Land and the Sea, so it would seem like they have believed in Doctor Who, and notably Russell T Davies has been quite open, more so than he normally would, about the viewing figures and the success of the show. He says whilst they aren't the viewing figures that he wanted, they are still very happy with it and how it's gone down well with the younger audience, which is what they're after. So in terms of that, that's great, but I do feel like that was sort of a hint towards them being not entirely happy, which is understandable, but still, I think it's a sign that it hasn't gone down as well as they wanted it to. And of course, Disney investing in the spin-off is a good sign, but we're going to have to see if they continue to invest in Doctor Who, because now we've sort of had it shown that the viewing figures are out, and now we've sort of seen how successful it is just in general with the sort of UK audience and other audiences around the world. I think we're going to find out soon whether Disney actually still believe in Doctor Who. I also feel Russell T Davies himself is contributing to the success of the show by giving it vision with spin-offs, by hyping it up and giving it mystery boxes, but I do feel like this has proved to be a double-edged sword. Looking at the mystery boxes, we have stuff like the Master's Tooth, the Boss, we have Mrs. Flood, we have Mavity, whatever even happened to Mavity, and I feel like these things just aren't working in a way that he wants them to. I feel like there's far too many going on, and then also, when they are finally revealed, like Ruby's mum, they do feel like a letdown. And I feel like with Ruby's mum being the first sort of mystery box to be revealed, I feel like it has affected the others, because I feel like with Ruby's mum being so ordinary, it did feel people leaving flat, and people like myself wondering, why should I bother investing in the other mystery boxes that he set up if this one just proved to be so boring and so basic that it was just completely a waste of time, it felt. So I do feel like certain things have been proved to be a double-edged sword. We then have the issue of him hyping things up, which in certain instances does work. I mean, look at 73 Yards. He said it was one of the best things he'd ever written, and then the viewing figures were up, and I feel like that's partially to do with what he said. But he has gone around a few times and said this is the best thing he's ever written, it's the most epic finale ever, and I feel like if he keeps doing this, I feel like it's going to lose a lot of meaning, especially if the expectations aren't lived up to. So I feel like him saying this all the time is going to start to prove to be a negative more than a positive, and I feel like people are just going to not believe it anymore. And to be honest, speaking about his writing so far, I'm glad he was back. I was really excited when he was back, but I do feel like this new era of his has a lot more faults than his previous era, which is a shame because he should have matured as a writer, and as I'm sure he has. But this one just feels like there's just so many more mistakes, and it just feels like it's trying to do too much, and it just isn't working. So the big question is, was it a success? And to be honest, yes and no. Yes, with the fandom itself, because I feel like whilst not everybody will agree and nobody will ever agree, it has been an improvement on previous series before. So I feel like in that sense it has been a success. But no, because with the general audience, I don't feel like it's made that much of an impact. I have seen here and there people talk about Doctor Who more, but not enough to make a noticeable difference. And I feel like that's what the streaming services and showrunners were after. So I feel like in that sense, it hasn't been a success. I do believe what they wanted to do was bring David Tennant back in the 60th anniversary to bring back old viewers and casual viewers in, make them watch, have the bi-generation happen so they saw Shooty and fall in love with him, then watch his episode on Christmas Day and then follow on from season 1. But I feel like with the week opener and the 5 month gap, I just feel like this didn't work in its favour. And I feel like it just didn't work because of other things as well. So I feel like in that sense it wasn't successful. So within the fandom, yes, it was a success. Within the general viewing audience, I wouldn't say it was that successful, to be honest. But that's just my opinion. What do you think? Do you think it was a major success? Do you think it was a major failure? Let me know in the comments below, because as always, I'd love to hear it. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully see you in my next video soon. Thank you all for watching, and take care.